Hello and welcome to HannahMechemStorys. I am Hannah and I just have a few notes before I read this fanfic. First off, my old channel got deleted, so I have a few videos from there that I am going to post on this channel. This is going to be on a different setup. I don't have my computer set up at this moment, so I'm using my phone to edit and film. But I wanted to get this out as soon as I could because I've been putting it off and I needed to start setting dates for myself. I am in school, so this will not be a weekly thing until the summer. And then it'll go to weekly and then back to maybe once or twice a week. Not sure. I don't really have a schedule during school. It's whenever I'm free. But putting that aside, go check out Queen Nightmare. She's my pure inspiration to actually restart my channel. We did a collab on her channel, and one of the videos from my other channel that got deleted, I'm going to post here, and that was our collab with her. Go check her out. She's amazing. All right, now this is the fanfic. Quick extra note that I forgot to say, I have dyslexia and I also sometimes just generally forget how to English. So there will be points where I pause because I'm like, I'm not saying this right. This does not sound like a word when I'm saying this. So just to let you know, I'm sorry for those parts. Drarry, A Cute Beginning by Otaku and Proud. Author's note. This was my first ever fanfic that I wrote purely for myself as a testing the water thing. While I am extremely happy for entering this new world of fanfic, this popular story reads like a one-shot and it's definitely lacking character development, and things happen a little too fast at points. I hope you will enjoy this little piece, but please keep in mind that it was my first and it's definitely a bit rough around the edges. Thanks, guys. Chapter 1. Ron was having a meltdown. This had become a regular occurrence for Ron, and Harry was trying to comfort him. Ron was laying across one of the plush velvet benches, practically a couch, that had somehow found their way into the library. He was a complete mess. Face red, bright red and blotchy like he had just been crying. Ron had taken to completing this ritual daily in the company of Harry, who he used as someone to spill out all his feelings onto. I just love her so much, you know? Ron wailed as Harry awkwardly tried to pat his friend's shoulder. Harry was trying his best to give Ron his full attention, but a streak of blonde had sped past in the corner of his vision. Every evening when Ron took to the bench, Harry was there without a veil. He would never want to admit that it wasn't a 100% selfless act, and that part of what kept him there was the hope that he could see the rest of what made up that streak of blonde. As Ron continued to blubber his way through another round of lovesick woes, Hermione came in, rushing into the library, her curls bouncing this way and that. Ron, Hermione, I was practicing for the potions class again in the bathroom. McGonagall has been on me again about bringing the substances into the dorms, and I need one of you to test out my potion for me. Hermione puffs out the sentence and then turns on her heels, ready to race out again. Well, come on then. Meet me there in 5. With Hermione out of sight, Ron bolts upright, rubbing hurriedly at his eyes. I think I'm gonna go. Ron blushes and Harry laughs, but batting him away as Ron quickly gets up to follow Hermione. God, how he wanted to love someone as hard as Ron loved Hermione. Harry sighed and slightly chuckled to himself as he moved to open his textbook on the table. The night is still young, and he knows that there is lots of work he needs to get done before class tomorrow. Knowing this, Harry still can't help but look up, feeling eyes on him. The blur of blonde is now still, and his eyes meet Harry's across the room. Draco. Red blooms in Draco's cheeks, and he quickly disappears behind a bookshelf. Harry quickly averts his eyes, staring back down at his textbook, not wanting to think about Draco's reaction. Was Draco blushing? Or was Harry simply imagining it? The thought made his insides squirm slightly. There was no way. Harry had definitely imagined it. He refocused on his textbook, pulling himself away from the present. He couldn't let himself get distracted again. Harry slowly worked his way through his set homework questions, and as the time went by, he felt himself dozing off. He fully intended to go back to his dorm for the night, but first he promised himself that he would finish the last 2 questions on the page. Warmth had spread its way across his shoulders, Harry noticed, suddenly aware that his neck was killing him. He had been sleeping, cheek to textbook, but he was so very comfortable where he was, and the thought of going anywhere had not crossed his mind. Although, now that he thought about it, the blanket that was draped over his shoulders had not been there before. The warmth he had felt had only just been placed there. So without moving the rest of his body, Harry slowly inched his eyes open. The back of a blonde head was retreating out of the library door. A waft of musk he knew so well, lingering in the air. Closing his eyes without quite realizing, Harry had fallen asleep. Only this time with the faintest tug of a smile on his lips. Chapter 2. It was the very next day, and classes had been running smoothly all day. All that was left in Harry's class schedule was potions class with Professor Snape. Hermione was buzzing. Not even Snape could bring down her mood. He was even maybe secretly impressed when Hermione had presented her new potion formula and a vial of it to class. Ron was similarly impressed, his cheeks glowing in pride at the sight of Hermione's success. Today in potions class, they had all been working through a whole list of formulas, moving one ingredient in a recipe each time to see how it affects the overall outcome of the potion. They had been working in pairs, a random draw from the class roll. Harry had been working happily alongside Dean Thomas when Snape called out to the class that partners were switching. Harry was still concentrating on the potion he was in the middle of making, so he hadn't realized that the new partner list had been called. Hey, Half-Blood, shove it. If you take much longer than this, the end of term will be here. Draco grumbled at Dean, who quickly leaves. Silence falls over the table. Hey, Potter. Oi, Potter, Draco was saying, becoming more disgruntled. Why can't I say that? Draco lifts up his finger and starts prodding Harry's cheek. Having not been aware of everything that had gone down over the last few minutes, the shock of Draco's finger touching his cheek startled Harry. In this state of shock, Harry accidentally lets go of the vial he is holding, the contents hitting the two boys before it smashes on the floor. What was that for, Potter? You got stuff all over me. Now my robe is going to be... Draco trailed off as he noticed that his body had started to become translucent. I was making an invisibility potion, Harry awkwardly mumbles, looking down at his own body, which is now barely visible. At this point, Snape has become aware of the goings on at Draco and Harry's table. Potter, Malfoy, so you are the big bunch of bunderheads I usually have to teach. Go sit outside of the classroom until the potion wears off, now. Harry and Draco quickly exit the classroom, moving to sit on the small bench that sits outside. I'm really sorry, Malfoy. I didn't mean it. I was just shocked is all. Harry trembled, slightly embarrassed to be making mistakes once more in potions class. Draco was silent for a moment before he scoots closer to Harry on the bench, his left leg now pressed into Harry's. I know, Draco says softly. The two are now completely invisible. Harry tries to reach into the pocket of his cloak to grab something, but finds himself accidentally brushing past Draco's hand, which is on the bench beside him. Harry shivers from the touch, and his hand quickly jumps away and back into his lap. Sorry, Harry whispers, ready to crawl into a hole of his own making. Harry feels Draco's breath on his face as he assumes Draco has turned to the intention of looking at him. Not wanting to grab anything else in the process, Draco moves his hand to rest on Harry's leg. The two sit like that in silence for a good 15 minutes before the potion begins to wear off. In noticing this, Draco and Harry turn to look at one another. The smattering of red across their cheeks, brighter than the color of the potion that Hermione had been making. The door to the classroom suddenly opens, and the two dart away from each other. Harry, Ron calls to him. Snape says you guys can leave now. I think he mumbled something else under his breath, but the message still stands. Let's go. Ron moves to grab Harry's hand, pulling him away from the bench. He looks over to Draco, who has his eyes on Harry's hand attached to Ron's, and blushes, quickly averting his gaze and focusing on Ron. "Okay," Harry says softly, slightly disappointed as he allows himself to be pulled away by Ron. Chapter 3. Later that night, Harry found himself in the library once again. Only this time, Ron had started off with Hermione, so he was all alone. The book that Harry had been studying for the night before had returned with the intention of more questions from it being answered. The sound of a chair squeaking against the floor of the library startled Harry, and he looked up to notice Draco is now sitting himself down. "I assume this chair is free?" Draco states bluntly, without any question in his voice. Yeah, totally. Available. Fantastical. Ready to be put to good use," Harry mumbled, the last of his sentence becoming slightly frizzled by the situation. Draco leans his elbows on the table in front of them and stares straight at Harry. "So, did you want to work through these questions together, or what?" Harry stares back at Draco, now completely dumbfounded. I tend to do these questions alone. They take me quite a while to figure out, so it annoys most people. That's why I study for so long alone." Draco's gaze softens slightly. "You know, I could show you how to do the questions faster if you wanted." Harry blinks at the suggestion. Draco quickly snatches Harry's book and looks at the last unanswered question. "You know, it's really not that hard if you just..." Harry's eyes sting slightly with tears, and although he quickly tries to swipe them away, he isn't fast enough, and Draco notices. "Hey, what's wrong? What did I..." Draco's cut off by Harry snatching back his book and quickly departing the table. "Hey, Potter, what's wrong?" Draco is almost yelling, and the other people in the library are now beginning to stare. He gets up to go follow Harry, but Harry is no longer in sight. Chapter 4. Harry is now back in his dorm, alone. It is somewhat comforting feeling for him, ruminating in his sadness for however long it lasts. Harry had begun full-on crying the moment he had crossed the threshold into his room. He couldn't help it. Draco basically made him look like a fool. Harry hated always being seen as the dumb one in class, constantly picked on by teachers and made fun of by students in Slytherin. As much as Hermione and Ron might tell him that it was just something to ignore, the pain of it all sometimes got to him. Harry, in that moment, decided it was probably best if he spent the rest of term studying in his room at night. He could still be there for Ron when he was needed, but the moments of solitude and awayness from other people might do him some good. Harry sighed and put his head in his hands. So maybe Draco hadn't meant to insult his intelligence. Maybe he had simply been trying to help. Harry could see that now, as he needed his face in embarrassment. God, how did he manage to screw something up that quickly with Draco? If there even was something there, was there? Harry cringed when he heard the sound of a knock at his bedroom door. "It's all good, Ron. You can come in. I'm all decent," Harry called out. "I'm sorry to hear that," came a different voice than Harry was expecting. Blonde. It was Draco. Harry's face was completely red. "Sorry to hear," Harry trailed off. "Clothes. You have clothes on," Draco said. "Oh, right. So, what do you want?" Harry questioned, his face still burning bright at the thought of Draco wanting to see him naked. Why did you run out on me before?" Draco asked, softly, sitting across from him on Ron's bed. "I told you I don't like being treated like an idiot. Just because I take a little longer than everyone else to understand what's going on doesn't mean that I need to be babied." Draco's eyes widened in shock as he dashed across the room to sit beside Harry on the bed. He reached over and grabbed Harry's hand, staring straight into his eyes. "You're not stupid, Harry, and I'm sorry I made you feel that way. I just wanted an excuse to study with you, but I didn't realize how wrong I went about doing it." Harry was getting teary again. It's fine. I'm fine. I will be fine. I just needed a moment," Harry sputters out. Draco reaches up hesitantly before wiping away one of Harry's tears with his thumb. "Hey, so does that mean that you can teach me something instead? I heard that you've been doing well in Transfiguration class recently, and I need some help with our most recent assignment," Draco asked softly, smiling softly. "Are you sure? I mean, I really wasn't kidding when I say that I'm not good at doing all those questions and stuff." Draco squeezed Harry's hand before removing them from his own. He reached up and poked Harry's cheek twice before exclaiming, "Harry, the name is emphasized. I am sure. I don't know why you put yourself down like you do, but you are fine. Perfect, in fact. Although you probably don't want me to say so." Draco chuckled to himself. Harry blushed at the compliment, but says nothing. "Hey, Harry?" Harry blinked in confusion. Draco was calling him Harry twice in the past minute, and it creates a feeling of butterflies in his stomach. Draco's face darkens for a moment. "Did you just call me by my first name?" Draco presses Harry. "Say it again." Harry hesitates for a moment before whispering, "Draco?" Draco's eyes darken further, although this time it became clear to Harry that those eyes are focused sullenly on him. "Can I kiss you right now?" Draco asks, his gaze flitting between Harry's mouth and eyes. Harry stops breathing for a moment, and Draco hesitates, as if wondering if he has gone too far. But within a second, Harry has pushed his hands into the blonde hair he had gotten to know so well from afar and smashed his lips against Draco's. Chapter 5. Draco pushes back against Harry's lips, almost aggressively, as the two fall back into Harry's bed. Draco wraps his arm around the back of Harry's head and begins playing with his curls playfully as he bites down on Harry's lower lip. Harry jumps slightly in shock, but continues kissing, pushing himself further into Draco before they are squeezed against each other. Why did we wait for so long for this? Draco stutters between kisses. I don't know. I guess I thought this was all in my head. Harry pants, hungrily sucking on Draco's upper lip. Draco moans, arching his back. God, you have no idea how long I've wanted this. Draco sighs, now moving his lips down Harry's neck. Harry moves his hands down to Draco's pants, pulling off his belt, trying to take it off. Do you want to? Harry begins to ask. Fuck yes, Harry. I want you so badly. Draco moans, practically shaking already. Draco moves his own head hands down to his pants, swiftly removing his belt buckle and starts to edge his way out of them. Could you be any slower? Harry laughs into Draco's neck. Draco's neck, taking back over pants duty, quickly pulling the pants until they're at his ankles. Wait, I think we forgot to take off our shoes, Draco announces, now falling into tears of laughter. The two stop for a moment before sitting back up, Draco awkwardly pulling his pants back to their original position, although without his belt. So, I guess we might have to call it for tonight, Draco chuckles. Harry following suit. I guess we should, Harry replies, now with a bit of disappointment leaking into his voice. Hey, Draco says, cupping Harry's cheek with his right palm. This isn't the end. We can do this tomorrow, the next day, all the next days if you'd let me. Draco grins tentatively. I reckon I could get on board with that. Harry smiles back, but stands up from the bed quickly as the sound of the door opening. Hey, Harry! Ron calls out before walking in and noticing that Harry isn't alone and, in fact, has another person laying on his bed without his belt on. Oh, Ron. He was just... Harry starts. Draco quickly jumps up from the bed, his belt in hand. He walks up to Harry, quickly kisses him on the lips before whispering, I'll see you again tomorrow. Same time? Draco quickly departs the room, and Ron is left staring at Harry with his mouth hanging open. Did that just happen? Harry laughs and blushes, but shrugs one shoulder. Sort of, I guess. Ron stops for a moment before walking up to Harry and wrapping him in a big hug. I'm happy for you. Me too, Harry whispers. Small, quick reminder, go check the description for the artists and any other information that I've put down there.